Hi there. So today I'm going to take you through the nuts and bolts of how our program works and the basic how to use our app. Now, everyone has problems. We all have issues. We all have things that we've got to deal with. And with every problem, you need to find a solution. And with every solution, you've probably got to make a decision. And if you get that decision right, you're going to feel good about yourself. And that is how you boost confidence. It's very simple. You just got to get it right. Now, the real problem is that every time we have an issue or a problem, we tend to look at it from our own perspective. So we keep hammering it from our own perspective. And a lot of the time, we know we haven't got the right answer. We come out with these solutions that are kind of half-baked and they don't feel right. So how do you get the right answer? How do you find exactly the right answers? Well, psychologists call these really perfect little answers that come from the subconscious mind, they call them insights. And this is what this is all about. So we designed an app that will help you look at your problem from different perspectives. So it's not just your perspective, it's other perspectives. And what it does is it helps you think about your problem differently. And it sets up a whole lot of new, different neural pathways so you can get more creative and you become much more intuitive. You think about your problem laterally. So how does this app work? Well, first of all, you need to download it. It's in the Apple Store. It's called the Confidence Expert. It's free. And I did that as a community service. And you download the app. And then you take out an old exercise book, or you might have a journal that you love, whatever, doesn't matter, it's just something to write in. And you write down your question. And it might be, do I marry Fred? Right? That's just an example. Do I marry Fred? And you might have doubts about it, And then you download the app, then you hit the shuffle button, and there's a couple of prompts, and they're very easy to follow. And you will eventually get to, 2 or 3 steps, and then you'll get to your word for the day. And on your word for the day, you'll see that there's a word, and there's a quote, and there's a picture of a wild animal, sometimes a couple of animals. And what that does is it stimulates your neural pathways to start thinking about your problem differently. So you write down, that day you get the word trust. Do I trust Fred? So you write it down, you reframe your question. Instead of do I marry Fred, it's do I trust Fred? Write it down. There's a lot of science behind why you write it down. I haven't got enough time to talk about that, but you need to write it down. Don't just think about it, write it down. Because you're setting up your brain so that it thinks differently. In fact, it starts to think laterally. You're sort of starting this whole method of becoming more intuitive. You're tapping into your insights. So you write down, do I marry Fred? And sometimes that's enough. You might get your answer, do I trust Fred? You mightn't trust Fred, in which case it's a no-brainer. If you don't get your insight that day, it might be that you've got to go for the next day and you've got to repeat the process and get your new word for the day and reframe your question. But don't try and do all of these new words in one day. Let it percolate in the brain, in the subconscious mind. So then you might write down whatever it is, do a challenge. Is Fred a challenge for me? Or whatever it is, okay? So keep writing down your new words until you get there. And you might have 2 days, you might have 3 days. Very rarely do you get 4 days of new words. Now, if it's an emotional problem that you're facing, and a lot of our problems are emotional, then write down what's been happening for you. So, for example, Fred has been fighting with me, or Fred's a control freak, or whatever Fred is. And then write down how you feel about it. And what you're doing is that you're releasing some of your emotion. You're starting to park your feelings onto the page. Now, the book will talk a lot more about how that whole system works, the research that's been done behind that. But basically, if you can offload some of your emotion, you will start to see your problem more clearly. And the beauty of that is you might even get an insight just from that step alone. So look, that is the nuts and bolts of how the app works, how our whole system works. There is a lot more detail in the book. There's a lot more detail on how to use it in application for fear, or it might be that you've lost your mojo, whatever. But this is enough to get you started. The book is also on Amazon, and the program, I just call them Fiona's Confidence programs. But they're there on our website. There's a link at the bottom. It'll show you where to go. And I hope that that's helped you. It's enough to get going with. Okay, thank you. Thanks for listening. Bye now.